with power, wisdom, truth, and faith. Our celestial influences this week is a full moon in Libra Wednesday at 10:12 p.m., opening the space to set clear boundaries without drama, revamping how we do all relationships. The full pink Libra moon is opposite Sun, Neptune, and Saturn in Aries, aiding us to speak truth, blessing everyone to level up in all things we do and don't do. Opening space for clarity and deep conversation, yielding wisdom, giving structure to our creative vision, infused with positive energy, strengthening our spirits to overcome emotional deficiency and stagnation. The action plan is to remember our purpose, awakening inner strength, inviting our souls to navigate unapologetically, reframing stagnation and self-judgment. The task is diplomacy, setting firm boundaries, building new foundations, manifesting strength and structure for all collaborations, unfolding dream partnerships with grace and ease. As we elevate forward, living and building inner strength to say no, to say yes to ourselves, we get a chance to teach people how to treat us as we build healthy relationships open to collective consciousness. Our call to action today is to take a journey into the world behind our eyes, opening our soul's wisdom, unapologetically embracing innate truth. So let's go forward and lean into our Mindful Monday meditation. Quiet the mind, quiet the body, center yourself, and be in this moment and take a breath. Anchoring your feet to the earth, connecting to the root of your purpose, aligning with our soul's task. Be centered and just breathe and be right here, right now, in this moment, in this space, honoring your wholeness in your life. Relax, calling on the power of divine wholeness, opening to your innate wisdom. Give yourself permission as you breathe to connect to the wholeness within you. Breathe, connecting to your greatness and your personal power. Allowing yourself to listen. Listen every time you inhale and exhale to the wisdom within your soul, and give yourself permission to just breathe, relax, and listen for guidance. Listen for wisdom. Allow yourself to be on purpose in this moment, in this time and space, connecting to your breath, connecting to your light, giving yourself permission to lean into the divinity within you. And as you breathe, listen with love. Listen for clarity. With each breath you take, give yourself permission to relax. Give yourself permission to connect to the power and love of the Most High, calling on your angels and your ancestors as you surrender. Surrendering what no longer serves your wholeness, surrendering stagnation, surrendering fear and shame. Picking up your power as you breathe, and to remember to embrace divine transformation, allowing yourself to level up in all partnerships, standing in your power as you relax. Allow yourself to feel your personal power and know your innate wisdom, and visualize happiness, visualize fulfillment, visualize your abundance. Visualize your body covered in light from your head to your toes as you breathe and listen with an open heart. Give yourself permission to feel your inner strength, to feel the power of self-love, to open to clarity as you relax and ground yourself here and now. And as you breathe, pick up your power to be bold and be ready to live your best life. Promise yourself to be unapologetically in your power and stand on purpose, shining your light, believing all things are possible. So be in your stillness right here, right now. And as you breathe, quiet your mind, quiet your body, and open your heart and your spirit to our Mindful Monday affirmation for the week. Relax and center. Open yourself and imagine that light. And our Mindful Monday affirmation: today, I give myself permission to stand in my power, embracing divine guidance with grace. Today, I give myself permission to stand in my power, embracing divine guidance with grace. Relax and breathe and allow yourself to feel the power within you and allow yourself to embrace divine guidance. And knowing that your life unfolds with grace and ease as you are centered and grounded in our Mindful Monday affirmation. Now give yourself permission to bring your awareness back, coming back to present time and holding the space as you awaken to stand in your power, embrace divine guidance, and be unapologetic about celebrating the wholeness of who you are. Throw your feet to the floor as you ground yourself and slowly bringing your awareness back and being right here, right now. Remembering to stand in your power, honor self-love, and celebrate yourself. Thank you, Dominique, Tavis, Smiley, Miles, and the 1580 KBLA family. Have an unapologetically mindful, blessed week, standing in your power, honoring self-love, trusting your life can unfold with grace and ease.
Saharah Ali, are we out of retrograde, retro shade now? Are we moving
Yes, we
forward
are
with
out of
Mercury?
we are out of retrograde. We are out of retro shade, and what we're having is oppositions. Like the full moon. The full moon is the culmination of the vibrations of our new moon, where we see the fruit of our labor, where we get to see the manifestation of the things that we claimed for ourselves. The other thing is that this is a Libra full moon, and Libra is about diplomacy, and it's opposite the sun in Aries because we still have the stellium in Aries. And so it's about building selfhood. It's about understanding your individual identity as you join a collective union. But more than anything, it's time to rebalance the dynamics of self to be more authentic in personal relationships and to understand that it's time to level up and to live things from your greatness, from your wholeness. You know, I have this formula that I always share with everybody, and so this whole full moon and the rest of as we step into April, I want to say the rest of the month, which is over already, but all of April. So as you navigate going forward, think about what's your intention, and anything you do, what's your intention, and in that intention, what is the expectation? So the intention is, what do you want? The expectation, what's the end game? And in the intention and expectation, then you come to acceptance. And acceptance is, can you live with the bottom line? Can you live with the choice of your intention and the expectation and acceptance that if your expectation isn't met, can you be in acceptance of it? And in that acceptance, can you release and let go and embrace reality? And reality is, are you willing to live with the truth and the reality of what is, despite your intention and expectation? The acceptance and release and dealing with reality is the tools and the steps to navigate through all of April as we have this full moon opposition, but also it's calling us to pick up our power, to level up to our wholeness, and to reframe who are we willing to be as we witness dysfunction around us and as we witness things unfolding to reveal truth. Emotional management is very important. Discernment is very important, but honoring the wisdom within you and embracing divine guidance will always deliver you to the place where you're supposed to be. You know, God knows exactly where you should be placed. Mr. Stevie
Right.
Wonder said it over and over in
Yeah,
a song. God knows exactly where you should be placed.
yes, indeed. It's a week where we have, tomorrow will be the anniversary of Nipsey Hussle, who was murdered outside of his store, his marathon store on his beloved Slauson. Thursday the birthday, excuse me, of Marvin Gaye, who was also tragically murdered by his own dad. Saturday, the anniversary of the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. And of course, we started out this morning talking about John Horton, who was murdered 17 years ago today. And we were talking with his mom, Helen Jones Phillips. It's a lot of sadness. It's a lot of, I guess, forcing accountability here through history, through activism. What do you make of that in the scope of this week?
I think, especially with this full moon, that the moon reflects light and brings wisdom to hidden situations, and truth is revealed. And especially with this Libra moon, it's diplomacy, it's balance, and it's also uncovering things and bringing things to light. I always like to frame, death is emotional, death is challenging, but death is a graduation. It is most unfortunate that we don't always understand the karmic circumstances or the choices of a soul, and also understand the benefit of a soul crossing over in a tragic way is a gift of empowerment for us to remember not to forget to stay on purpose, to be in the light, and to stand for what they stood for, but to continue the message. And that they have more power on the other side. And even though we miss them on the physical, sometimes it's necessary for a soul to be sacrificed so that we can remember not to forget that we are powerful, and we have them as ancestors on the other side to help us continue to bring light, to bring truth. And so it's so important to honor our fallen angels, but to also remember the legacy that they leave, the power that they stood for, and to not let who they are and who they were becoming and their contribution to the wisdom and the truth and the power of this time, that we have to carry on. We cannot just perish because they are gone and crossed over and, the universe has taken them home, and they died in a way where we can remember not to forget that we have to persevere, and that injustice is still very real, and that we have to stand. And if you don't stand, you fall. And if you fall, you get back up and continue to know that there's a power greater than all of us, always moving through us, always guiding us, and always there to support us. And all we have to do is give ourselves permission to connect to that wisdom and trust the gift and the power that is given in the souls that have crossed over, and the power we have to be on this side to speak the truth and to fight.
Saharah Ali, tell us when we can go to the next sound bath and how to connect with you.
Our next sound bath is not until April, and in the meantime, you can listen to the meditations on KBLA, and also give yourself permission to listen to the truth within you. Intuition is very high right now, and so to give yourself permission to maybe go and lie down in the park or walk by the beach and hear the natural rhythm and sound of nature, to recalibrate your nervous system, and to open yourself to the magic that is in front of us, and to give yourself permission to pick up your power and know that your healing and the sound of healing is always moving through you and with you. And just listen. Listen with grace to your ancestors guiding you and delivering you.
And you can find Saharah Ali at saharahali.com. The April Sound Bath at the Yoga House. You can go to their website and get more information. Saharah Ali, thank you so much.
Thank you, Dominique. Have a blessed day.
And you as well. Phone lines are open. We are going to unbox the No Kings and beyond when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DePrima when we come forward.
All the women who independent, throw your hands up at me.
This March, we're turning up the volume on the women who changed everything. KBLA Talk 1580 is proud to celebrate Women's History Month, honoring the trailblazers, truth tellers, and game changers who shaped our world, our culture, and our community. From the freedom fighters to the firsts, from the boardroom to the front lines, from the unsung to the unforgettable. All month long, we're celebrating the stories, the voices, and the conversations that remind us that women, Black women, have always led the way. Don't miss a moment. This is our moment. This is our story. Stay tuned to KBLA Talk 1580, Los Angeles' home for the conversations that matter.
I'm your girl, you're my girl, we your girls. Won't you know that we love you?
Are you drowning in IRS tax debt? Angela was. She called Civic Tax Relief and saved over $80,000. Felicia was having health problems, got behind on her taxes, interest and penalties were adding up. She called Civic Tax Relief and saved over $15,000. Civic Tax Relief is a professional tax negotiation firm that can protect you from the IRS. If you're getting collection letters, call Civic Tax Relief for a free consultation. They will go to work helping you discover all the relief programs you may qualify for free. James owed the IRS $37,000. Civic Tax Relief represented him against the IRS, and by the time everything was completed, he did not owe the IRS anything. If you are in trouble with the IRS, call Civic Tax Relief for your free consultation now. 800-200-2257. 800-200-2257. Get a free consultation and real tax relief. Call 800-200-2257. 800-200-2257.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Tired of being locked out of job opportunities and shut down by systemic racism? KBLA Talk 1580 stands with you in fighting for the rights of Black workers, and we don't black down. The Los Angeles Black Workers Center is a dynamic alliance of workers, organized labor, community-based organizations, clergy, students, and scholars working collectively to improve the position of the Black working class. The LA Black Workers Center takes a comprehensive approach to addressing the Black jobs crisis. Their programs promote access to quality jobs, racial equity in hiring and retention, discrimination-free job sites, and they prepare Black workers for employment in high-wage career track jobs. The LA Black Workers Center supports workers who need help protecting their rights on the job. They give workers access to quality jobs and remove systemic barriers to employment. And they are advocating for a fair deal for Black workers in the new Los Angeles City Charter. To sign up for free career readiness training, get involved in organizing, or learn about union apprenticeship programs and trade registries, please visit lablackworkercenter.org. That's lablackworkercenter.org. Together, we can beat the Black jobs crisis and build a more equitable Los Angeles. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
The conversation continues right now with Dominique DePrima on First Things First.
It does, and you're invited anytime at 800-920-1580, 800-920-1580. That's the number. It was a big weekend for the No Kings movement, for the pushback against the rise of authoritarianism, fascism in the form of this administration and their policies. There were reportedly 8 million protesters all over the United States, all 50 states, according to the organizers. Bruce Springsteen performed at the Minneapolis rally, and there were over 3,300 is what I'm reading, across all 50 states, 3,300 protests. And among those 3,300 protests, 8 million people show up. That is amazing. We've seen these protests in June and October of 2025, where they reportedly drew 5 million and then 7 million, now 8 million, which obviously tracks a growing movement at a time when we see more and more outrageous policies, the murdering of our citizens, the abridging of our rights. All of this is escalating as the protests escalate. I heard a lot of my followers and friends on social media complaining that these protesters, a lot of them are not Black, not brown, they're white, and older. To me, anyone out on these streets pushing back against the normalization of the stripping of our rights, the voter oppression and suppression that's going on, and all of the violence, not just at home, but abroad, in Gaza, in Iran, in all of the many fronts of that Iran war, is positive. And I do know, for example, I know Black Lives Matter Grassroots participated. I know some of the other Black and BIPOC organizations did participate. They are just not the organizers. And I also know, because of folks in both movements, that there's dialogue going on. How do they do a better job in organizing? What are some of the sciences and arts of protest? The things that Reverend James Lawson taught us, that it's not just to be out there any old kind of crazy way, but to be intentional and to be organized in the way that we protest. In New York, in Times Square, tons of thousands of people marched. They went across the Memorial Bridge in Washington, D.C., thousands and thousands. Palm Beach, Florida, wow. Dallas, Texas, there was some fighting between marchers and counter protesters. Okay, we say Florida man, in this case it's Texas man. And some of the people that are clashing with No Kings protesters in Dallas are pardoned January 6th coup attempters, right? That tells a whole story in itself. The fact that the people who tried to stop a free and fair election being certified are now fighting with protesters whose only messages are stop the war, no kings. This is not a monarchy. There's a reason the United States of America is a republic. We kicked out King George. Why would we have an emperor, a monarch, an oligarch today? They wanted to end the wars. I mean, these are simple messages, right? The killing of US citizens. So why is that something that would make these pardoned January 6th traitors want to fight and get out in the streets of Texas and throw them dogs? That's crazy to me. And it shows you exactly what we thought is exactly what's true about these January 6th figures and what their real agenda is. In LA, thousands marched and the police arrested 9 people. They are claiming that demonstrators were throwing bottles and rocks at federal officers outside a detention center, but the official story always needs to be examined and re-examined. No memes of the president pooping this time. So far, he's kept his mouth shut about these protests, but I suppose that we will be hearing about them eventually. Right now, he's too busy making up excuses for the war in Iran. Okay, so I read 9 people were arrested, but some other reports, the Associated Press specifically is saying 74 people were arrested in LA. So that's dozens. They're saying they did not heed a dispersal order, which is always one of the main excuses that we hear. Sometimes those dispersal orders never happen. Sometimes they're barely audible, but 74 is the count that I'm getting from the Associated Press. And this is a lot of people. And apparently, LA arrested more folks than any other area, jurisdiction, city where there were protests. That tells you a lot. And those of us who live in LA are not at all surprised by this. News, traffic, and sports, then more on KBLA Talk 1580.
The station you turn to when you've had it up to here with cultural incompetence. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Black New Jersey Democrat Senator Cory Booker is leaving the door open to a possible 2028 presidential run, though he says his focus now is re-election.
I am definitely not ruling it out. I'm running for re-election. I hope New Jersey will support me for another 6 years.
Speaking on NBC's Meet the Press, Booker also promoted his new book Stand, criticizing political division and Democratic leadership. A Frontier Airlines flight was evacuated at Atlanta's Hartsfield-Jackson Airport after a passenger on board made a bomb threat. Police detained the suspect whose identity has not been released, and authorities say the threat was not credible. And some TSA officers are still calling out sick even after President Trump directed Homeland Security to resume their pay. The staffing shortages come as the partial government shutdown stretches on, causing long security lines at major airports. Get BIN News now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Now is the time to save on an award-winning Nissan at the Nissan Now sales event, featuring the Rogue, Pathfinder, Frontier, and more. Don't wait. These offers are going fast. Shop your Southern California Nissan dealers and NissanUSA.com today.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Congratulations to the UCLA women's basketball team. They advanced to the Final Four in the NCAA tournament for the second year in a row. UCLA overcame a sluggish first half to beat Duke 70-58 in the Sacramento Regional Final. 29 straight wins for the Bruins. They are 35-1. Lauren Betts scored 15 of her 23 points in the second half. The Bruins will play Texas or Michigan Friday night in Phoenix. The NCAA men's basketball Final Four is set. Illinois, Michigan, Arizona, and UConn. Lakers star Luka Doncic will serve a one-game suspension for tonight's home game against Washington. Doncic was hit with his 16th technical foul Friday night in the Lakers win over Brooklyn. The one-game suspension will cost Doncic $561,000. The Clippers beat Milwaukee Sunday 127-113. Benedict Mathurin had a game-high 28 off the bench. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey, LA. Tax money is our money. Let's decide how to spend it together. We deserve investments that actually make our neighborhoods safe, like affordable housing, good jobs, fire prevention and protection, and community support programs. How can we make that happen? Join Black Lives Matter Los Angeles and the Movement for Black Lives for the People's Budget Assembly on April 16th. Together, we'll discuss solutions to problems we're facing and make a plan with fellow Angelinos for a city that works for the people. There'll be food, childcare, and great conversation. It's time to demand a budget that puts the people first. Join us on April 16th at 7 p.m. at BLMLA's Center for Black Power and make your voice heard before the Assembly through the People's Budget Survey. Register today at peoplesbudgetla.com. We'll see you there.
All I need is one mic.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Dr. Nicordelai Corte. Less than 24 hours before a planned California governor's debate, USC and KABC Television Channel 7 pulled the plug after a week of growing outrage that not a single candidate of color had been invited to participate. USC says it was just math, polling numbers, fundraising totals, nothing personal. But here's the problem with that argument. Every one of the 6 candidates who made the cut was white, and every one of the candidates left out was not. At some point, the outcome is the message, regardless of the formula that produced it. The 4 excluded candidates, former U.S. Health Secretary Javier Becerra, former L.A. Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa, former State Controller Betty Yee, and State Superintendent Tony Thurmond, are not fringe figures. These are people who've won major statewide elections and served millions of Californians. Here's the deeper lesson. California is one of the most diverse states in the nation. Latino voters, Black voters, and Asian American voters don't just live here. We decide elections here. When the people organizing a debate about California's future build a stage that looks nothing like California, they're not just making a scheduling error, they're sending a signal about whose voice matters. Even some of the invited candidates called on USC to expand the field, ostensibly because they understood what was at stake. That said, it is worth noting that none of the invited candidates had the courage to stand in solidarity with people of color and bow out of participating in the debate. But we'll leave that alone for now. Canceling the debate was not a victory. It was damage control. The real lesson is that diversity cannot be an afterthought in the criteria. It has to be baked into the thinking from the very beginning. Voters of color are not a special interest. We are the electorate. With the KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Dr. Nicordelai Corte. As always, we welcome your feedback.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we do more than just talk.
You got a big mouth. Hello, Joe, you're up. Welcome.
We're unapologetically progressive, and we don't black down.
I'm so glad that you're all here with me this morning, and I'm being joined at this point by my colleague, Dr. Melina Abdullah. She's the director of Black Lives Matter Grassroots and the lead organizer for BLM LA, as well as a professor at Cal State LA. Good morning, Dr. Abdullah.
Good morning, Sister Dominique. How are you?
I'm blessed. How you doing?
Good, good.
So we're hearing right now 8 million people hit the streets this weekend, 3,300 protests everywhere from New York City, where there were thousands, to a small town in Idaho called Driggs, which has a population of 2,000 and voted overwhelmingly for Trump in 2024. And I was bringing up this idea that some folks complain, no kings is white, it's not for us. I know that you were there. I know that BLM Grassroots chapters across the country participated. How do you view that?
So there weren't a lot of Black people or people of color at the march here in Los Angeles or any of the No Kings rallies that we were a part of. So, chapters took part in the rallies in Atlanta, Birmingham, Boston, many different of our Black Lives Matter grassroots chapters joined No Kings and were invited to join No Kings. One of the things that I shared, and we were really fortunate to have been on the stage and been able to speak for a bit at No Kings in Los Angeles, which brought tens of thousands of people out, is that the outrage that we see erupting in these No Kings rallies, which brings out mostly liberal white folks. These aren't even your radical white folks, as you talked about the Idaho example, right? These are people who are just going, wait a minute, raping and eating children is bad. So we can't have this fool in office anymore, right? But one of the things that we see is they're beginning to awaken to a reality that Black people have always experienced. We've always known that this was a repressive regime, that, nothing is really brand new or shocking to Black people. And so the idea of participating, I understand No Kings to be kind of a moment of awakening, right? So if you go there, it's a festive experience, right? People have balloons and costumes and march in circles, and at least that's what the majority of them are doing. Black people don't have time for parades. And so I think for many of us, we're going, good, we're glad you're starting to wake up. Now, at least this was our message, now we need you in the real movement. So if this is your wake up, if this is you getting out of bed, then good. Glad you got out of bed. Now we need you to show up tomorrow, and this is one of the things that we said, we need you to show up tomorrow on Sunday for Brian Bostic. We need you to show up on Tuesday at LA Police Commission. We need you to show up on Wednesday when we say LAPD is a joke and we demonstrate in front of the LA Police Protective League. We need you to show up, and we also need you to organize. And so I think Black people and people of color, because if we think about what's happening with the ongoing organizing to get ICE out of Los Angeles, but also to abolish ICE, if we think about the ongoing organizing that a lot of indigenous communities have been engaged in, right, that we're already in the streets for things that we know that are making an impact.
Yeah, Molly Bell makes an interesting point in the YouTube chat. She's saying she said, well, I'll read it. Didn't seem like the No Kings rally did not get the coverage it deserved. Perhaps it was me. And I agree. It seems like they're diminishing mainstream coverage of it. And I feel like this is just the beginning with the media consolidation that's happening now, the purchase of CNN and CBS by the Ellison family, and now their ownership of TikTok. We saw the same thing happen, I believe, post 2020 with the Black Lives Matter.
That's right. So this is where we have to really be appreciative of independent media, of Black-owned media, right? KBLA is not going to stop reporting, right? Black Lives Matter doesn't get reported on at all. And Dominique, I'm just going to share what I shared with you in advance of the No Kings demonstration. I was reached out to by, now talk about media consolidation, right? I guess it's MS Now. It used to be MSNBC. And I was reached out 2 days ahead of the No Kings demonstration and asked, would you be on air with us for an on-the-ground interview for No Kings in LA? And I said, of course. And I guess a couple days passed. They probably figured out who I was because they reached out to me at my university address. And the day of the march, they emailed and said, actually, we're going to cancel your march. Now, there had been 3 emails confirming the march, confirming the interview, working out details, asking for a pre-conversation, all of that. But the day of the march, they canceled. In my view, and I'm a conspiracy realist, every conspiracy I believe in has now been proven true, right? You know, that we know that there's been an erasure of Black Lives Matter since 2020, and really between 2013, when we were founded, until 2020, there had also been an erasure. So Black Lives Matter has been organizing consistently for 13 years. We're in the streets every single Wednesday. There's absolutely no coverage of that. So I think it's important to remember that when we talk mainstream media, media is doing what's in the interest of those who sponsor them. So if they're getting their money from oil companies, if they're getting their money from big tech, if they're getting their money from Walmart, right, whose interests are they going to advance when they tell the so-called news?
Yeah, I think that's true. And Forensic Accountant points out in the chat that you can count on Rachel Maddow to cover protests. That is also true, but she is able to do that because she's a superstar in their star system and has huge ratings, a lot of them with the very liberals that attend those No Kings marches. So you'll have exceptions. You'll have people within the ecosystem that have the ratings to survive. But we'll see if that holds up in this new paradigm, because I think with the consolidation of ownership and under the Trump administration and the Brendan Carr FCC, we may care less about ratings and more about pleasing the king, emperor, oligarch, mafioso dude in the White House.
Yeah, and I would just challenge a little bit. So yes, Rachel Maddow sometimes does show demonstrations, but I do want to racialize it a bit. I think that I think that it's important that we remember that not a single personality on MSNBC has ever had anybody from Black Lives Matter Grassroots on their program. Not even Joy Reid when she was on. That they've never, so they'll cover loose protests, but what Rachel Maddow doesn't have, what none of them have ever had, are real organizers, because they might cover these big demonstrations, which how do you ignore when tens of thousands of people or millions of people around the country are at a demonstration? That's not news. That's showing their bias right there, right? But I think it's important to remember that they don't ever show real organizing. Not even Al Sharpton has had any of us on. Every now and then they might have, Al Sharpton might have somebody like a family member on to talk about the death of their loved ones. But for the most part, if it's corporate-owned media, they don't cover organizing. Only independent and Black-owned media does that.
Melina Abdullah is joining us, and you're welcome in at 800-920-1580. I'm Dominique DePrima for KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DePrima when we come forward. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. At the heart of the Al Wooten Center's mission for good citizenship and academic excellence is a desire to ensure that every student avoids the kind of lifestyle and overcomes the kinds of challenges that led to the murder of Al Wooten Jr. In 1990, founder Myrtle Faye Rumpf opened the center in honor of her son's life. In 2026, they are serving more than 300 students in grades 3 through 12 annually online and on site at their youth center and other sites in the South LA area. The Al Wooten Jr. Youth Center takes a neighborhood approach to the revitalization and empowerment of a community in crisis. The Wooten Center provides free after-school and summer programs to help students in grades 3 through 12 attain grade-level proficiency and promotion, high school graduation, and college and career access and success. The Al Wooten Center focuses on academics, STEM, the arts, and so much more. Join them for an enriching experience that sparks creativity and nurtures young minds. Tap in at wootencenter.org. That's wootencenter.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Getting around LA doesn't have to cost a lot. Metro has fares that fit every budget. 20 free rides for qualified riders through the Life Fare program. Free passes for students with GoPass and affordable options for everyone in between. Wherever you're going, Metro's got you covered. Visit metro.net/fare programs.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, a.k.a. the Voice of Reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the Voice of Reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Ready to order?
Yes. We're earning unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with the Capital One Saver card, so let's just get one of everything.
Everything?
Fire everything. The Capital One Saver card is at table 27, and they're earning unlimited 3% cash back.
Yes, Chef! This is so nice.
Had a feeling you'd want 3% cash back on dessert.
Ooh, tiramisu.
Earn unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with the Capital One Saver card. Capital One, what's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
This is the story of the One. As a maintenance tech at a university, he knows ordering from multiple suppliers takes time away from keeping their arena up and running. That's why he counts on Grainger to get everything he needs, from lighting and HVAC parts to plumbing supplies, all in one place. And with fast, dependable delivery, he's stocked and ready for the next tip-off. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Why'd I go to the doctor? Working on the farm, my heart kept skipping a beat. I didn't think much of it, but my daughters made me get checked out. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did.
Visit NoTimeToWait.com. Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
We knew you'd stick around. This is LA's home for progressive talk radio. Be heard. Welcome back to KBLA Talk 1580.
Yeah, I'm being joined by Dr. Melina Abdullah, my colleague and friend. You mentioned Brian Bostic, the 37-year-old who was died in custody, is what Inglewood is saying. Whatever happened, it was the Inglewood Police Department on March 10th of 2026. It's just the way they're talking about it is so obviously intentionally confusing. It was allegedly beaten to death, but Mayor Butts is saying that he was alive in the police car and died subsequently. You mentioned something happening on Sunday. I know that the city of Inglewood is turning out. People are not having this. What do you know about that? What can you tell us about it? And what's happening on Sunday?
Sure. So Brian Bostic is a 37-year-old father who we don't have a lot of details on his death, right? We do know that there was some sort of traffic stop. We do know that there were recordings of what happened, not by police because Inglewood police don't wear body cams. But there is the intersection where he was killed on Netwood and Hillcrest. There's many businesses around. What the police did immediately is confiscate any video that any of those businesses recorded. So on that evening, Brian Bostic was beaten. He was put in a cop car. They said that there were some issues with him in the car, like health issues. That's what they're claiming, because this is what they claim, right? If we let the police tell the story, George Floyd died because of health conditions, right? I think of Freddie Gray when I think of what happened, what might have happened to Brian Bostic. I think of Keenan Anderson, who was tased to death here in LA by LAPD, right? So he was put in a car. He was supposedly, this is by their own report, or what they've told so far, supposedly unresponsive in the cop car. But instead of taking him to the hospital, they took him to the Inglewood jail. Why would you do that if he wasn't well? And so we believe that Inglewood police beat Brian Bostic to death. And instead of giving answers, they're running from the people, but his family will not be run from, right? The family is unrelenting, and they're leading protests every single Sunday on the corner of Hillcrest and Netwood. And so there was another demonstration yesterday, and they're now joining forces with the family of Keisha Michael. And you'll remember Keisha Michael was one of two people. She, along with Marquittin Sandlin, were murdered 10 years ago by Inglewood police. The city of Inglewood has also decided to cancel their city council meeting that was set for tomorrow, because last Tuesday, Black Lives Matter Los Angeles and the family and many other organizers and activists showed up at Inglewood City Council meeting. So rather than confront it, rather than give answers, what they've done is shut down any access or any point of accountability.
And the mayor has been very, I don't know, he apparently, according to news reports, told the family that he could assure them that Bostic did not die in the police car. But how would he know that if there's no body-worn camera footage? Not only that, he claims that the LAPD still has bad shootings, even though they have body cameras. And so he wants to focus on teaching his officers not to kill people, basically. It seems like he is possibly covering up the shooting.
Absolutely. I mean, his name fits him. His name is Mayor Butts, and he's full of butts, and he's not giving any answers. And the idea that you would say, well, LAPD kills people too, I think is very, very telling about what Inglewood does and what Inglewood's been doing. And we got to remember, Butts is a cop too. So he has a particular perspective, and we know what the history and what Inglewood Police does. In fact, I remember an incident when you were on another station, what Inglewood Police did to Black Lives Matter protesters, including me, including Joseph, including Reggie, Sheila, right? So we know that they are not, they're not the pillars of peace. They are absolutely murderous, and we need to get to the bottom. And it'll ultimately be the people that get us to the bottom of what happened to Brian Boston.
Yeah, I know you got to go, Dr. Melina Abdullah. Thank you so much for joining me this morning.
Thank you so much, Sister Dominique.
You can find out what's going on with Black Lives Matter Grassroots at blmgrassroots.org or on Instagram, or Black Lives Matter Los Angeles is also on Instagram, Twitter, and they have a website as well. It's so crazy to talk about this, though, in the context of the conversation we just had with Helen Jones Phillips, who talked to us about the way the coroners can be complicit by going along with whatever the sheriffs or police departments have to say about what happened, their version of the story. And that becomes even more of an issue. In this case, the mayor is saying there are 3 different investigations going on. And what he means by that is the Inglewood Police Department's own investigation, the coroner's department, and the district attorney, our conservative DA, Nathan Hochman. So we're talking about 3 reviews, is what he called them. But they're probably in consultation with one another based on what we've seen in other cases, based on what Helen Jones Phillips experienced with her son, John Horton, where it took her 16 years to get his death reclassified from suicide to undetermined. But again, the mayor is saying we're going to see what these internal investigations provide. The police department investigating itself, the DA's office, their partner, our conservative DA, investigating them, and the autopsy by the county medical examiner, who I really never thought about it this specifically until today, the fact that they don't have an oversight commission or board for the coroner's office. And how do we, the public, or the families whose loved ones were stolen, their lives were stolen by police, what assurances do we have that the coroner's office, the medical examiner's office, is completely independent and not being influenced by the district attorney, by the police departments that they work with day in, day out on these kinds of investigations? So you can show up at Hillcrest and Nutwood on Sunday. It sounds like a great direct way to support this family. I know the Inglewood City Council cannot indefinitely suspend their meetings, and clearly the community is not going away until they get some real answers on what happened to Brian Bostic. Morris says, I'll never call out Mayor James Butts. Actually, I'm pretty sure I just did exactly that, Morris. So follow the bouncing ball. If the mayor is saying that it's good they don't have body cameras because the LAPD is still killing people and they have body cameras, that's one of the dumbest things I've heard, because we would know what happened to Brian Bostic had those IPD officers had body cams on and turned them on the way that they're supposed to. And I am exactly calling out what the mayor said, because I don't think it's enough to rely on the Inglewood Police Department to investigate themselves. I think we probably need an investigation from Rob Bonta, our state attorney general. Okay, so yes, I just did call out the mayor. And yes, we do need answers. And yes, this is not the first time this has happened, but the city of Inglewood, the people of Inglewood, are not having it. And that is a great thing. It's a Black Marriage Monday, and we'll continue this conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Black New Jersey Democrat Senator Cory Booker is leaving the door open to a possible 2028 presidential run, though he says his focus now is re-election.
I am definitely not ruling it out. I'm running for re-election. I hope New Jersey will support me for another 6 years.
Speaking on NBC's Meet the Press, Booker also promoted his new book Stand, criticizing political division and Democratic leadership. A Frontier Airlines flight was evacuated at Atlanta's Hartsfield-Jackson Airport after a passenger on board made a bomb threat.